Hey guys, it's Damien here, and I'm really excited today because I'm going to be talking to you about how to get awesome Tinder photos and matches with just a mobile phone camera. Because I know that most of you guys don't have a professional digital SLR that you can take good shots with, but you can still do it with a mobile phone if you just follow these steps. So let's get stuck in, guys, without any further ado. So what are we going to look at today in this video? Well, we're going to do the following. First of all, I'm going to tell you just who the hell I am, what my background is, and why I'm here running this video in the first place. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you why so many guys are underperforming on Tinder, because likely you're watching this because you're feeling frustrated, you want better results. You don't know why you're not getting better results, so I'm just going to go into that in a little bit of detail so you know what's really going on and what's happening. Then we're going to look at the science of great photos. So, what's going on? What's actually happening technically from a technical standpoint? Why do people often prefer digital SLR to a mobile phone? How can we overcome the shortcomings of a mobile phone? Because it's totally doable, but you just got to know how and what's involved. So we're going to look at that. Then we're going to look at you taking your 5 money shots. So we're going to look at taking 5 distinct types of photos today. Photos that are going to really raise your profile to the next level. If you have good shots taken this way with all of these, you're going to get a massive boost in matches that you're going to get on Tinder. So, that's kind of the whole point of what we're doing today. And lastly, we're going to look at, okay, so where do you go from here? How can you've got great shots. Where can you go to make sure that you continue to get better and better results on Tinder? Because, of course, it's one thing to get matches, but it's a completely other thing to actually, have great conversations, get phone numbers, and turn those phone numbers into dates. So how are you going to master that process? We're going to look at that right at the end as well. So let's get cracking, guys. So first of all, who am I? Well, you may know this. I am the founder and head coach of Australia's largest dating coaching company, School of Attraction, which I started all the way back in 2008, which makes me feel like an old bastard. But at 36, I'm not really that old, but it still makes me feel old. So I've been around the traps for a little while in the land of dating coaching. I've been an international speaker for events in 8 different countries. So I've spoken at a range of events, not just on dating and pickup. So I've spoken at events like 21 Convention on how to be happy. I've spoken on sales skills. So how can you transition what you learn about women into getting better sales? I've spoken about self-improvement, men's development, men's sexuality, and a whole range of topics because I'm a guy with a pretty broad range of interests. In 2011, I started coaching women as well. So obviously when you start coaching men, it can very easily start to feel like women are the problem. But then you start coaching women and you realize, both genders are making a lot of mistakes and causing a lot of pain to each other. In 2015, I started coaching men on their Tinder profiles. I've since worked with over 1,000 guys on Tinder, and honestly, Tinder is not like day-to-day dating. And when I say that, what I mean is Tinder is actually relatively simple in comparison to get good results on. You start to see the exact same patterns time and time again with guys when you're coaching them on Tinder. And so, today we're going to be talking about photos, and that's just number one. But yeah, obviously getting good photos, that's a really big part of the pie. So with that knowledge, what have I noticed? Why is Tinder so frustrating for guys? What am I seeing as patterns that are coming up time and time again? Well, one of the big issues with Tinder, and it's not actually Tinder's fault, I should say one of the biggest issues with mobile dating apps, but especially ones that are super popular like Tinder, is that men swipe 5 times as many profiles as women do. So this is probably not a surprise. If you've ever watched a man using Tinder, it's like swipe, 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 swipe. Like he's super quick, super rapid, trying to swipe right on tons of women and left on the few ugly ones and, jumping through and like going nuts on the swiping. Women on the whole use Tinder a lot less frequently just for swiping. So every now and again, a woman will go on and do a bunch of swipes, but it's not like a man. Men tend to use it religiously. Now, what this means is that women are contending with 5 times as many men vying for their attention as men have to contend with women vying for their attention. And it's not because there aren't enough women on Tinder. Tinder has a pretty close male to female ratio. It's just that men use it so much more often. So what this means is that because women are getting all this attention from men, and often you got to remember, men are just swiping almost every woman, not even just women they really want to date, just almost any women. And so what happens for a lot of women is very often, as a woman using Tinder, she'll match with a guy and try to talk with him and he won't respond to her. Or she'll match with a guy and he'll never initiate the conversation. It just won't happen. And you'll be amazed how often this happens. But essentially, this is created by the fact that there's so many men doing so many swipes on women they're not necessarily intending to talk to that women get frustrated with Tinder. And so women start to lose a lot of trust in men. But the other fact is that because you got all this competition from the guys, Tinder becomes hyper image conscious, because in the beginning, when women are swiping through profiles, that's all she can judge you on. I mean, you got that little bit you can write in your profile, but let's get real. All she's got is your image. And when you have 5 times the competition that, women do, all you have to rely on are those photos. So you're going to have to get good quality photos if you want any hope of getting some great matches, because otherwise women will only swipe right on the guys who are way better looking. And even though those guys don't actually get in contact with them because those guys are getting other women, it's this weird cycle. And so Tinder becomes really frustrating for both genders. For women, because it looks like they can match with really attractive guys, but these guys won't talk to them. And men, because even relatively unattractive women don't seem to want to match with them. And so that can be a real whack to the self-esteem. As I said, it's not quite just a Tinder thing. It's a general online dating thing. The last point is that only the top 20% of guys' profiles get seen at all. And this, again, is because men are swiping so many more profiles. So what happens is that women hop on Tinder and they will generally swipe until they've matched with 5 or 6 or 7 guys and then stop swiping and have some conversations. The result is that lots of men's profiles aren't being seen. And they're not being seen typically because Tinder its algorithm will try to show women the guys who are the most popular, who are most likely to match with them. And because there are so many men swiping so often, women get shown all these other profiles that aren't yours. And if your profile isn't ranking very well, because Tinder has a whole ranking system and it bases that ranking based on things like, how many women swipe right on you, how many women respond to messages you send, how often you're online, a whole lot of factors like this, right? Tinder's trying to reward guys who are the kind of guys that perform well on Tinder. And so, if you're not performing very well, in other words, if you're not in the top 20%, you're probably not getting seen at all. So, all those women's profiles you're swiping right on, but they never swipe right on you back, could well be they're not even seeing you in the first place. So that's a thing that's happening. But there is good news. So there is sort of a silver lining here. And the first thing is that while there is a lot of competition, most men have terrible profiles, like really, really terrible profiles. Like you'd be shocked. Obviously, there are some good profiles out there, but saying that the competition is 5 times harder is not really quite fair. Most guys put very little effort into their Tinder profiles, and you may well be in that in that group so far, but you're going to quickly learn you need to put in some effort. As a result of that, an average or better looking male can easily get in the top 20% with good photos. Now, I say average or better because Tinder is still a very looks-based medium. So if you're sort of, and this is a really hard one because if you've got low self-esteem, you might be quite decent looking but think you're ugly. I've seen this a lot of times. But, if you're starting to get well below average in their looks, Tinder is not the best medium because you're better off learning to attract women out in the real world where you can leverage personality and humor and all these other things in an approach that you can't do so well on Tinder. But if you're sort of an average looking guy or a bit better, you can easily get up there with some good photos. And lastly, Tinder is rapidly working on its algorithms to try to keep men in the system and women. Tinder's recently abolished its old ranking system known as the ELO ranking system. And it's trying, it might not be doing a fast enough job, but Tinder wants as many men and women to stay online as possible. And if women are getting frustrated because men aren't starting conversations, and men are getting frustrated because women aren't matching with them, there's a problem. And Tinder's going to lose its client base to other apps. And that is starting to happen. So Tinder is trying right now to change its algorithms to make sure more guys get a chance of matching. But right now, you're always still going to have a better chance of matching if you've got better profiles, better profile images, even if the algorithms are starting to make things more fair because, heck, the better you look, the more matches you're going to get. It's as simple as that. So let's just talk a little bit about some of the phone camera science, because mobile phone cameras are limited in their efficacy. And they're limited by one big factor, and that is the size of the sensor. That is the thing that collects light in your mobile phone. So in your mobile phone sensor is this thing on the right. So you can see a lens, but behind that is a sensor. And if you look at how big that thing is, that's the thing that collects all the information about the image that you're seeing. Now, first of all, an image that small can't collect very much light. So that's the first obvious thing that sensor isn't capable of. But the other thing that a phone can't do very well is because the sensor is so small, there's something called edge detection or edge contrast. And essentially that's what makes your photos look, if you remember old-fashioned or really cheap mobile phones, they tend to look a little bit washed out and a little bit not that sharp, they just have this weird look to them. That's because the small sensor again, and the phone is trying to do all this trickery to improve that. And still to this day, the computation has gotten better, and so phone images have gotten better, but there's still that problem. That's very, very small sensor size is causing big problems with image quality. But the big one is the amount of light it can capture. If you look at the image sensor on the left, which is a digital SLR sensor, I mean, that thing can capture what? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 20 times as much light? That means 20 times as much detail and image quality. So what do cameras do? What does a camera do when there's not enough light? Well, these sensors, what they do is they do something, they artificially boost an image in a way it's called an ISO. And what that does is it essentially increases the brightness of an image with limited data. So what does this mean? Well, it introduces something that's called noise. So if an image isn't light enough, a camera will still take an image and it'll boost its ISO setting. And if you've ever taken a low light image with your phone, you've probably noticed how grainy and horrible it is. That's because its ISO is boosted. So a low ISO image tends to look nice and creamy and sharp, and a high ISO image tends to look all grainy and washed out and yuck. Now, mobile phone cameras are especially sensitive to this because of their super small sensors. So this is why if you take a photo out at the beach with some friends, your photo looks amazing. If you take a photo indoors at a house party at night with the indoor lights on, it looks like it's plenty bright enough, but the photos still look a bit shitty and grainy and not very sharp. So this is one of the big shortcomings of mobile phone cameras. So we need to work around that. The other thing that you need to work around, because it does have a big impact on how an image looks, is something that's called depth of field. So depth of field is something to do with the way that the light interacts with two things. It's to do with the way the light interacts with how big the lens is, how wide the lens is, the opening on the lens, in comparison with how big the sensor is. So if you've ever seen the new Samsung phones have like a 1.5, it's called f1.5, and that's supposed to be better for bringing in light. That's true. Don't worry about that fact. But that f1.5 is to do with what's called the aperture size. But I don't want to get too far into this, but I'll say this. A mobile phone camera doesn't create much depth of field. And depth of field is what you see on the right, where there's a certain distance from the camera where things are really sharp. And when you go outside of that distance or further away, things get really blurry. So a mobile phone picture would stereotypically look like the image on the left. The image on the right, stereotypically, is what you get from a digital SLR camera, and it looks much nicer. If you notice how she pops right out of the image because everything's blurred behind her, it's just a much more flattering way of getting a photo of someone, especially a portrait of a person. Now, modern mobile phones like the iPhones and the Samsungs and almost, a large number of modern phone manufacturers now, Google, of course, are making phones that are imitating this look, and that's great. If you've got a phone that does this, fantastic. You want to be taking a number of your shots like this. If you don't have a phone that does this, I'm gonna sort of explain to you that you can do it manually. You can actually do it yourself on your computer afterwards, but I highly recommend you do this because depth of field is a thing that makes photos look much better, and was often one of the signatures of a digital SLR over a mobile phone. But again, you can cheat the system and you can do this with a mobile phone. Anywho, so something else that I just want to bring up. So with all that in mind, what are some of the rules that I want you to follow when we're taking these photos? Well, the first one is you always always have to have great lighting with a mobile phone. That means don't take indoor shots if you can help it. Don't use a flash. Flashes, what they do is they drain out all the color, and you've seen flash photos. They never look very nice, and they're not flattering at all. So avoid using flashes completely. Number 2, don't take any selfies. So use a tripod or a friend to take your photos. You can get really cheap photos. You can get very cheap mobile phone little tripods, little bendy tripods for a mobile phone. Use that, but don't take selfies. Selfies are not your friend with Tinder photography. Number 3, be immaculately groomed. Look your best. I mean, this should be obvious, but have your hair in place, have your beard, your facial hair well looked after. You should have 2 eyebrows. Do I need to mention that? But yes, you should have 2 eyebrows. But also make sure what you're wearing fits. A lot of times I see guys get photos of themselves and their shirts are too big. Really bad. Your shirt, everything, clothing is all about how it fits. So make sure you get the right size. You may be someone who likes baggy clothing because you just don't like fitted clothing, but trust me, it just looks way better. So if it's a collared shirt that you're wearing, make it a fitted collar shirt. Don't make it, this baggy thing that's kind of hanging off you loosely. It's not a flattering look for anyone. Even if you're overweight, by the way, you're better off having a shirt the right size, not something baggy to hide your weight. Big tip there. Number 4, have different clothing in all shots. So another mistake a lot of guys make is they tend to have the same clothing in all the shots because all those shots were taken in the same photo shoot. Don't do that. But make sure that what you're wearing is always smart casual or formal, really, to be fair. Make it look good. Make it the kind of what you'd wear on a date or better. Don't be dressed like a bum. Unless it's a photo of you doing a sport or something. Obviously, that's different. But yeah, other than that, always be dressed well. Look sharp because you're trying to show yourself off at your best. Okay, so moving on. These are the 5 photos that I'm going to show you guys how to take today. So number 1, we're going to take a smart casual primary photo portrait. So this is a photo where you are looking your best. This is a really high quality shot with a great facial expression of you looking like $1 million. This is your money shot because it's going to be your first shot, the first thing women see of you. Secondly, we're going to take a suave suit portrait. So this is a second hot shot. It's another photo of you relatively close up, and it's a hot shot, meaning you're looking really great. Now you're wearing a suit, you're looking pretty cool, pretty awesome. Women love to see a man in a suit, and yes, I'm aware that I misspelled the word shot. You'll have to forgive me. Number 3, a photo with a pet. So this is going to help you demonstrate empathy and trust. If you are a guy who likes animals, then you're probably more trustworthy. You're capable of taking care of things. You've got empathy. You're not cold or heartless. Just has a lot of good things that tends to turn a woman on. Plus, damn it, who doesn't like puppies and kittens? Number 4, an activity photo. So show that you do more than sit on the phone. Right? Show that you do more than sit. I mean, have photos of you doing a hobby, have photos of you doing a sport, have photos of you doing something interesting that isn't just posing for a photo somewhere stationary, right? Show that you have an active lifestyle where you do interesting things. And the 5th shot we're going to take is a group of friends because you want social proof. It's good for trust, but you want to have some social proof built into your photos. Like this is a guy who has a social life. Because guys who have social lives are less likely to be super awkward. So it's a good thing to keep in mind. Right, so going on. Smart casual. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you about how we're going to get this smart casual primary photo. Okay? So first of all, what you need to do is you've got to find an outdoor location because remember we need plenty of light with good lighting and a spot to place the phone. So if you don't have a friend with you, which I'm going to assume you don't, if you do, awesome, more power to you. But if you don't, find a wall or even a piece of play equipment or, things like that where you can place, or a bench or, picnic table, all that kind of stuff where you can place the phone so you can actually, make it stationary and get that photo of yourself. Then there's also got to be a good distance between you and the background. Now, the reason for this is that you, again, want to have background blur. So don't be standing with your back against a wall. Have a background behind you that's, ideally, that, look, I like to have green or cityscape or stuff where there's stuff going on. Like you saw in that photo with that girl with the graffiti in the background. Once it's blurred, it looks quite nice to have some color and adds some interest. So yeah, just have something behind you, but have some good distance behind you as well. Then you want to start, because you're going to be doing this alone, I presume, you want to start with a pose testing video. So what a pose testing video is, you're going to set up your phone and you're going to start recording a video. And then you're going to go to where you're going to film it. You're going to take the photos and you're going to start trying a bunch of different poses and different facial expressions. Look at the camera and smile. With a big smile, hold it for a few seconds, and then try it with just a smirk. Hold it for a few seconds, and then look off camera in different directions. Look up a little bit, look down a little bit, look off to the side a little bit, look up and off to the side a little bit. Stand in a different way. Put your hands behind you, put your hands in front of you, put your hands in your pockets, link your thumbs in your belt and put your shoulders back, lean against something. So you're going to kind of test a range of different poses so that you can watch the video, find the poses you think look best on you, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take photos of your 3 best poses. So I usually say take like 3 or 4 or 5 photos of each pose, because you can be blinking, you can have slightly different facial expressions. You'll see it's well worth taking a large number of photos and then culling it down later. If your phone has portrait mode, use it. I'll talk more about this if you don't have portrait mode on your phone. Portrait mode on your phone, by the way, tends to involve your phone creating fake background blur for that bokeh, for that what's called bokeh, but depth of field effect. So use that if you've got it, because that's, of course, the effect that you want to have on that photo. So here's an example of mine. It's a smart casual primary photo here. Again, background blur, the stuff going on, but because it's so blurred. Now, this was taken with a digital SLR. I haven't done these with the mobile phone. I'll show some others on a mobile phone later, but this is exactly the kind of shot that you want to have for a main shot where you're looking good. In this one, I thought I looked good smiling at the camera directly at. Not necessarily for everyone. I've got others where I'm looking a little bit away and it still looks really sharp. So this is just an example of the effect that you want to achieve. And also the framing. You notice it's kind of from the chest up. My head's fully in the shot. I'm relatively centered in the photo. This is what you want. It looks really great. And this was just taken in a cafe. So next we want to have the suave suit shot. So this is going to be really, really similar to the other one. So you can have the same rules as your main portrait, but now what you're going to do is you're going to change the location. So you want to have a different location, different background, so it feels like a different time. It could be the same day as the other photo, but it just needs to feel different. And now in this photo, what you want to do is you want to be further back. So kind of waist up or just below the waist up. So a little bit further back so she can see the full suit here. When I say suit, by the way, it doesn't need to have a tie. Just a nice jacket, a nice collar, looking really sharp. That makes a guy look good. But if you've got one with you in a tux or something, even better. Let's go ahead and use that. But not necessary. It depends on how that shot looks overall. Then again, we're going to do a pose testing video, try it in different things. I've suggested to guys, you feel silly, but if you go to a park and you just have a wine glass with you, you can put some water in it. No one's going to realize, but you're just sitting there in a suit with a wine glass in your hand. It can look classy as hell. So yeah, do that, But anyway, try it with a bunch of different poses. And test this out and see how it looks. And then, again, take photos of your best 3 poses. Use portrait mode if your phone has it. If it doesn't, I'm going to talk about that in just 1 second. So here's an example of that. Guy in a suit. Sorry, it's a little bit... it's not perfect image quality because I had to expand the image so far, so my apologies for that. But this is an example. This guy's just got water in the glass, he's worn his tux, and he's out at a park. And it looks classy as shizzle. So it looks really great. Now, I understand that a lot of you guys will have phones that aren't necessarily the newest phones. They don't necessarily have portrait mode. If they don't, just do a quick Google, because I'm going to put some links on the screen here, but basically you can use Photoshop. If you've got Photoshop, you've got the money, if you've got it, use it. Otherwise, there's another app that's called GIMP, and I know you're going to laugh, haha, GIMP. It's a free image editing software, and you can do almost all the same stuff you can with Photoshop. But basically, if you've got Photoshop, Google create depth of field in Photoshop. In GIMP, say create depth of field in GIMP, and you'll find a simple set of instructions for how to do that. It's really easy. In fact, I did it with this photo myself, and I literally spent 5 minutes. You can do a much better job than I did. There are a lot of techniques to making it look really awesome, but this still works. Quickly blurring the background, keeping him sharp. So you don't need a phone that does portrait mode, but you do want to blur the background. It is going to look way more professional and way sharper. So now what we want to do is we want to get a photo with a pet. Now, The pet needs to be a mammal. That's an important one. It's, I've got theories why. I can't say it's fully scientific, but here's the thing. Mammals have highly developed emotional brains. They are highly emotional creatures with emotions and behaviors that are very easy for humans to relate to. So dogs, cats, I'm just struggling to think of other mammals, but yeah, basically any mammal you can think of. Like whales, dolphins, right? These animals have really complex emotional lives, and surprisingly so. And that makes them very, very relatable for us. So yeah, so you want to make it, and plus, mammals are generally cute and fluffy, not including dogs and whales. So usually, of course, a cat or a dog. Now, you want to get about 5 shots to choose from with the pet. So usually going to be things like holding or playing with it is best. If you're just kind of stationary with like standing near the animal with your hand kind of resting on the animal, it won't necessarily look really good. You want it to look like the animal's having fun with you, or it likes you, or this kind of thing. So get a number of shots and choose the one that you think is the most fun, right? I have one with my parents' dog where I'm like got his little paw and I'm waving at the camera with it. That's great. Women love it. And yeah, it's a great animal shot. Now, I understand obviously not all of you have a pet. So, one, you can contact a friend who does. Or, now this won't be in every country, but in a lot of countries around the world, pounds, like places where there are stray dogs, kept hoping to find a home for them, they often need people to come and walk the dogs. So they allow you to take dogs for walks for free. So what I highly recommend you do is go for a dog walk. Who doesn't like taking a dog for a walk anyway? And when you're doing it, ask someone to take a photo for you, right? Or just ask the people at the pound to take a photo for you, right? So do it after the walk when the dog's like comfortable with you and feels a little bit better being around you. Yeah, get a photo with the dog. It sounds silly, but it works. And I've had lots of clients do that. It's a great little trick. Okay, so just here are some examples of photos guys have used. Obviously, the guy on the left, he's showing off his body at the same time. He's showing off the cute puppy. Now, that is like the ultimate, like, I've got a sexy body and I've got a cute dog. I understand you won't all be able to achieve that. Here's another one on the right with him with the dog. Again, you can see the dog looks really happy and he's close, he's intimate with the dog. And it creates warmth and trust and likability for the guys. So definitely a photo with a pet is a great way to go. Now, second to last, we've got the activity photo. So this is a sport or hobby or an activity-based pastime. So hopefully you have other things going on in your life other than working and sitting at the computer and using Tinder. Hopefully there's other stuff you've got going on. The main thing is you really want to be smiling in the photo. I said must, but I can imagine there would be exceptions. Like if you're playing soccer and you've got a great shot of you playing soccer on the field, you might not be smiling, but you still look really intent and active. The main deal is that it looks organic. That's why I say smiling here. You want to look like you're having fun or you're really focused or really into it. That's really the big stuff with your activity photos. If you've got no hobbies, my first recommendation is to do a salsa class. And when you're at the salsa class, ask the teacher to take a couple of photos for you. A couple of reasons for this. One is that salsa is a sexy hobby. But secondly, you're going to be in the photo with a woman dancing. Now, this is good because it can be hard to get a photo of you with women in it for social proof where it doesn't look like it's a photo of an ex-girlfriend that you've snuck in there. Because a lot of women are very sensitive to that stuff. But if it's clear you're kind of doing a dance, like a salsa dance or something, women aren't going to make that assumption. And all of a sudden, it's going to look really great, social proof, you dancing with a woman, and it's you doing an activity. An older alternative is rock climbing. I've used rock climbing a lot myself because that's the way that I show off. Not anymore. I'm a skinny bastard now, but I used to be really, really well built. And so, yeah, I used to use rock climbing as a photo because that would look really good. It's a great way to show off muscles without being kind of narcissistic about it. So that's another thing. But rock climbing is a good fun activity. And it's a good thing that most guys can do. And, it's a fun thing to do with some mates one time. Here's an example of a salsa photo taken. And again, it looks great, right? Because the guy's dancing with the woman and, it looks like they're having fun. And this is a very professional looking shot. It's not that professional, but it doesn't need to be so great as this. But yeah, a nice salsa photo. Just get the instructor to take a photo for you. They'll be more than happy to do it. Lastly, here we've got me. This is the shot that I use. And this is just demonstrating I was doing an activity shot for a different purpose, trying to show off my body. That I was in really good shape back then, I'm very intent and very focused on what I'm doing. So that's what that shot was all about. So lastly, guys, we've got the photo that you want to have with friends. And this is important because social proof is big. Random guys on Tinder are just random guys on Tinder, and they could be weird or creepy or strange, but the second you can see them with friends in the right context, it can be really flattering for you. So here's what you want to do. If you haven't got any photos of you out with friends, you've got to go out to a cafe for lunch. It doesn't have to be a cafe, but it's something during the day because, again, you need tons of light, right? Light is really important. So you want to be somewhere where there's plenty of light. The other thing is that you want to make sure the location is good lighting. You also want to ideally include at least one woman. So it's not necessary. This isn't like a 100% thing, but it's ideal if you can. But she can't look like your girlfriend. So if it's got one woman in the photo and you have your arm just around her, that's risky. That is risky. So ideally not that. But the other side, you don't want to be the only guy. You at a club with 8 girls hanging off you, not a good look. Don't do that either. It too easily looks sleazy. So don't go for that option either. And lastly, if you can, place yourself in the middle of the photo. And again, you want people to look happy. If it's just kind of you with a group of people looking sad or looking in different directions because they didn't know it was a group photo, it doesn't quite work. You want everyone to be smiling or having fun. Usually what I do, if I'm going to take a great group photo, the photographer, whoever's taking it for us, I might say, get them to say something funny, right? Say like, tits are awesome, and everyone goes, tits are awesome, and everyone's kind of smiling about it, and that's when the photo gets taken, right? So yeah, that makes sure everyone's smiling and in a good mood. And this is just an example of one of the guys who have helped out with his profile a little bit. Again, this is a perfect shot. It's got a woman in it. It's clear that they're all having fun together. They're all smiling. They're in a good mood. There's tons of social proof. And it's very flattering just to see from a trust standpoint. Now, guys, I don't know why you attended this evening. I don't know why you're here watching this video right now, but I do know one thing. I do know one thing for sure. I know that you want and you deserve more dates than you're currently getting. I know that 100%. Now, you've probably heard that I have an entire Tinder training course online where I go through every aspect of building the ideal Tinder profile is going to get you matches, how to convert those matches into numbers, like how to have really amazing conversations, and how to get those women from those conversations out onto dates. It's not nearly as hard as approaching women out in the real world. I know I'm a big fan of cold approaching women, but Tinder is an art form, and once you've mastered it, you can get dates. You can get a lot of dates. And so yeah, the School of Tinder is something that I created. I created a number of years ago now, and it's been a smashing success. So what do I cover here? So first of all, there's a series of online training videos. This is just a screen capture here that you can see of the different video topics that we've got here. I'm going to be talking to you about how to construct the perfect profile, what to write to women to create rapid liking and rapport. I'm going to be talking to you about how to get dates lined up that won't flake, because obviously flaking on Tinder is super frustrating and happens quite a lot. And how to find women who aren't looking for relationships. So if you're looking for a relationship on Tinder, great. If you're not, how do you screen for and find those women? That's an art form to itself, but it's not that hard when you know how. Secondly, there's going to be real life examples. So I want to make using Tinder as easy as possible. So first of all, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of examples of completed profiles and the conversion rates. So you can see what kinds of profiles are getting what kinds of match rates from women. I'm going to have samples of entire Tinder conversations that you can copy for yourselves to see how other people are getting results on Tinder. So it enables you to read through a whole sort of reservoir of conversations that have done really well. I've got lists of ideal first lines, teasers, and rapport building questions that you can ask on Tinder. So you can copy and paste, because the idea behind School of Tinder is making it easy for you as possible to get really great results. And lastly, I've got some lists of date structures that have been tested to be highly effective. And here on the right, you can see there's some, we again have lists of things like profile quotes, things that you can use in your profiles to make women laugh and to make women smile and make them want to swipe right on you. So again, it's all this stuff that you can copy and paste and making the Tinder process as easy as possible for you. And thirdly, we've got instant coach feedback. So I've got a Facebook group for School of Tinder members. Now, in this Facebook group, guys are consistently posting up their profiles, and they're getting professional feedback from myself, my coaches, and other guys on Tinder who are getting really great results. So there's a lot of feedback there. You just post up your photos, post up your Tinder conversations, and you're gonna get a ton of feedback there. Then what you can do is post up your conversations to find out why they aren't resulting in dates. So, and guys, of course, share their best openers and lines, which you can easily copy too. It's a fantastic little community we've got there. That's one of the big features. That's one of the big bonuses of being a part of the School of Tinder. So this program itself is, you can get it anytime. This program isn't just limited to this video program here that you're watching right now, but there is a massive event discount offer, which you can get right now. The offer's here on this page, right below this video. Go check it out, because this offer is only going to be available for a very short amount of time. It's just as a reward for taking action, having interest. And we want to reward guys who are ready to take action now, not guys who want to sit back and waste their time. So yeah, go and check that out. If this is something that calls out to you, this is the thing for you. What I'll also say is that the course is guaranteed. So basically, do the course. And if in 1 month you're not happy, tell me, and I'll refund your money in full, and you can keep the training material. You know, I only want to charge you for what works, and I know what works. I know that this material works. I know that the community is great, and there's so much support for you guys that, especially at this special offer price right now that you guys can see, you'd be nuts not to at least try it, because again, you get your money back if it doesn't work. So one more thing I'll say is that if you do register for this price, and it's in the next 20 minutes, you're also going to receive the entire Sincere Seduction audio training series. Now, Sincere Seduction is my award-winning book that I wrote, which basically outlines every step that you need to know to build attraction with women. This isn't just online dating. This is about what to do and say, how to act, how to move, and the mindsets you need to have when you're on these dates, when you're talking to women, when you're interacting with women. So this is about real-world skills with women. You're going to receive this only if you register in the next 20 minutes. So guys, look, it's so easy for you guys. I've made it super easy. You can copy exactly what I and the other coaches and the other successful clients have been doing to get results. It's super. We've made it so easy with the School of Tinder to do that. So start getting more Tinder dates than you've got time for. That's essentially what our catchphrase is. If you register now for the limited offer below, go and check that out, guys. Get some really good photos using the processes that I've outlined in this video here today. Let me know how you've gone. Get in contact with me by email. Get in contact with me through Facebook. Let's have a chat. I love Tinder. Tinder's been a lot of fun. Online dating in general has been a lot of fun, and it's not hard to get great results when you know how. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Damien. Have a fantastic week, and definitely be sure to put some of what you've learned today into practice. Take care.